is because there are multiple exponent rules in each problem. So it's your responsibility to figure out which one to do first. And you do that using your order of operation. So what comes first in order of operation? Parentheses, good. So look inside the parentheses. Like in number 20, there's not much we can do in this one. So that one's done. Then you move on to exponents. So anything raised to an exponent, you need to simplify. We have two sets of parentheses raised to an exponent. So you have to do what's in the parentheses, all raised to the power of -2. All right. Coefficient you treat like normal. It'll be whatever 4 to the -2 power is. We can put that in the calculator in a second. The exponents, according to the power rule, so it's a power raised to a power. What do we do when it's a power raised to the power with the exponents? You multiply them. All right, so normally exponents tell you to multiply the base by itself. So that's how I remember that we multiply the exponents on the variable. So it'll be what's x to the 3 times -2? 3 times -2 is -6, good. Y to the power of 6 times -2 is what? Positive or negative? Good. So that's the first chunk of parentheses. And of course, we'll simplify that in a second. The next chunk is all of this raised to the power of -3. So we'll have 2 to the -3 power. We'll put that in our calculator in a second. What will be the new exponent on the x table 2? -6, good. What will be the new exponent on the y table 3? So 4 times -3 is what did you say? 4 times -3 class. -12. All right, feel free to use a calculator. But yeah, so you multiply the exponents with the power raised to the power. So this is what we have so far. I'm gonna simplify the coefficients now using my calculator because there's nothing wrong with using a calculator. All right, so 4 to the -2 power is that decimal, which we can click this button and it'll give us a fraction. So 1/16. And then I'll just write it as a coefficient. I won't mess with the other negative exponents yet. I'll just write it as a coefficient. So I'll leave these as they are for now. And then we also need to know what 2 to the -3 power is, which is that decimal, but you press this button, it gives you the equivalent fraction, so 1/8. And then we're not going to mess with the negative exponents until the very end, because we still have an operation that we need to do here, which is adding them. You can only add things together if they are if they have the same variables to the same exponent, so like terms. So are these both like terms, are they both x to the -6, y to the -12? So then combine the coefficient, which of course we made it a fraction, those you may or may not like. But that's why you get to use a calculator. So 1/16 plus 1/8 gives us that as the decimal. Press this button. You get the equivalent fraction. So it's 3/16 for our new coefficient. All right, I'll copy this over for the negative exponents because when you add like terms, you don't change the variables or exponents, but you don't want your final answer to have negative exponents. That's like that's a rule. So anything with a negative exponent does what? How did we do it yesterday? Anything with a negative exponent, what do we do with it? Move it to the bottom. So like we move the x because it has a negative exponent. Do we move the y? Yes, because it also has a negative exponent. So move that down there. Rewrite it as positive. So in the numerator, I still have that 3. In the denominator, I still have that 16, but now I have x to the 6, y to the 12. So that negative exponent rule, you move it to the other side of the fraction and rewrite it as positive. If it's not a fraction already, make it a fraction and then move it. So questions on that one? Okay, let's do another together, and then I'll have you try probably 1 or 2. So let's look at 22 together. So lots of stuff going on here. We have stuff being multiplied together and then divided. So order of operations, multiplication and division are in the same step. So the order that you do them, depending on the problem, might be different. So sometimes you might multiply first, sometimes you might divide first. Anytime that it's set up in a fraction like this, you have to work out the numerator completely and the denominator completely before dividing them. So we need to multiply first in this one. So 6 times 5 is what? 30. What's the rule for the multiplying variables? What do we do with the exponents? We add them. So have those rules handy in your notes so that you can refer back to them. For now, you can use your notes on everything in here. So then a to the 3 plus 9, so that gives me a to the 12. Over, we haven't done anything to the bottom yet, over -12, a to the 14. Questions on that side? All right, then all that's left to do now is divide. So 30 divided by -12. I don't know, I don't think that works out evenly, does it? So if you're not good at simplifying fractions, you could always throw it in the calculator. So 30 over -12 gives you a decimal. Press this button, you get the fraction. So I'm going to use that, -5/2. All right, and then we still, well, we have the variables. So when we're dividing variables of the same base, so they're both A's, what do we do with the exponents? We subtract them, thank you. So let me fix this rule that I'm writing. So if I have x to the a divided by x to the b, we get x to the a minus b. So 12 minus 14 is -2. Is that my final answer? No, because we don't like negative exponents in our answers. So we use the negative exponent rule and only move the stuff with a negative exponent. So do I need to move the -5? No, that one has an exponent of 1, so that one's fine. It's staying the same. Do I need to move the a to the -2? Yes, so move it, circle it if you need to, with the arrow. That's now gonna go in the denominator. Also in the denominator was that 2. All right, question? So then I'll have you try 21 and 23. And we'll go over them shortly. And then I imagine that a big chunk of time today will be spent on that practice worksheet that you got yesterday. So then after we go over those two, you should be able to do all of them. All right, so 21, we have multiplying and we have raising something to an exponent. So what do we do first? Table 5, do we multiply first or do the exponents first? Excellent. All right, and the exponents always comes before multiplying. So all of these stuff raised to the power of something, like outside of parentheses, will have to be done first. So like this chunk will be first. X will now be to the power of what, table 6? So this x squared raised to the -2, it becomes good. Table 7, what will be the new exponent on the y? Yeah, let's do that. So y to the 3 raised to the -2 power gives me -6 is correct. All right, so that's the first chunk. We also have this chunk raised to the power of -3, so now let's do that. Table 8, x will be to what power? If it's to the 5 and then raised to the -3. -15 is correct. Table 2, y will now be to the, good. All right, so here's where we're at. Now we're just on multiplying. So remember, multiplying has its own rule. What do we do with the exponents when we multiply the bases? We add them. So then table 3, x will now be to what power? What's -4 plus -15? I don't remember what table it was, either 3 or 4. So actually it's -19. So it's -4 plus the -15. So you have to look at the matching bases and then add those exponents. Right? So how about try again, try with the y now. Oh, -18. So it's -6 plus -12. All right, so here's where we're at right now. Is this my final answer, class? What's wrong with my answer? There's negative exponent. So if it's not a fraction already, make it 1, put a fraction bar underneath it. Anything with a negative exponent needs to move. So do we move this one? So move it over. You'll rewrite it as positive. And then the y, does that one need to move? All right, yes, that one moves because it has a negative exponent. So rewrite it on the bottom as positive. What do I do if there's nothing on one side of the fraction? Put a 1, that would be our basis. Not a 0, but a 1. So questions? All right, if you got it completely right your first try, great. If not, just figure out what went wrong. If you help figuring that out, let me know. And then just don't make it again. Don't make that mistake again. All right, down here, we have exponent, multiplying, and dividing. What comes first? Exponents come first. So this chunk, all raised to the power of 2, we're going to do first. Table 3, what is 3 squared? 9, good. Table 4, what will be the new exponent on the x for this instruction? Actually 2, because it's so the 1 right now, 1 times 2 is 2. Try again, what will be the new exponent on the y? Yep. So the 1 right now, 1 times 2. All right, I'm going to copy down everything else. We haven't done anything with the rest yet. All right, questions on exponents? All right, what comes next? The multiplying or dividing in this particular problem, table 5. Multiplying, I don't know if that's what you said, but multiplying will come first. So the 9 times 2 is what class? 18. X squared times x to the 4th gives me x to the, as a class. 6 is correct, whoever whispered that. So you add them when you're multiplying the bases, so 2 plus 4 is 6. And then class, it'll be y to the 5th, good. So that over this, all we have left to do is divide. We'll add this to the 1. So then 18 divided by 6 is 3. Remember the rule when it's dividing the bases, when you do what with the exponents? But 6 minus 8. -2. And then y to the 5 minus 1. So it's 1 if it's not written. What's 5 minus 1? 4. Almost done. We don't want negative exponents, so rewrite it. Only thing that needs to move is the end. So move down there. The final answer written with only positive exponents is 3y to the 4th over x squared. I think that was x squared, but that's what it is. So any questions? Okay. So that practice worksheet, the one with, I don't know how many questions is on there. 21 questions. Work on that as you go. Please check your answers because it's really easy to think that you got this, and that is really easy. But if you mix up the rules, then that kind of thing. So check as you go. Don't take pictures of it. Don't like stand here a long time and copy it down. Just correct it and then make sure you know how to do it. Tomorrow I won't be here, but you'll have like a coloring worksheet to do on the exponent. So there's like more examples. Once you finish it, you get to like basically color by number. It'll tell you like what color the number 1 should be based on like your basically identical. So yeah, you'll have more practice with this tomorrow, but I won't be here to check it. So what I will provide, hopefully, I don't know if I'll have time to, is another key like this, but it won't have any work done. So it's your responsibility to show work. You might need a separate piece of paper to show all your work, but I'll be grading it based on work done. So that's why I'll give you the answer, but you need to know how to get to that answer. So question? Oh, no,